Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? Good to talk to you all. I am your humble, handsome, happy, and slightly hairy host, Bill Sylvie. Welcome to the Crazy Gibberish. We're doing a little bit later break today because I have a special guest on camera. We have the one, the only Jeremy Rule, who is a refugee from my Monday night AD&D virtual bash-ups and an all-around swell guy. And we're gonna talk to Jeremy just about geek stuff in general. I don't have any particular agenda going forward today, so what else is new, right? But there is something new that I saw today that just made me smile so much. For those of you who grew up fans of either Macross or Robotech, whatever it was called in your market, you might have noticed that unlike Star Wars or Dungeons and Dragons or just about anything else, that little piece of your childhood is rare and hard to get a hold of. If you like the models like I've had on the shelf behind me and so on and etc., you might have noticed that when you can find them on Amazon and at hobby shops and that sort of thing, they cost a friggin' bank. Well, apparently, for quite some time, there has been a legal wrangling between the various IP holders of the Macross properties in Japan. That has finally settled out. That is over and that is done with. They've got distribution rights. It basically everywhere but Japan. It's going to be Harmony Gold, which, means Robotech, not Macross. But the fact that anybody can distribute it means that if you're a Macross purist, you'll be able to get, like a new model Valkyrie kit that's a little bit better than the one you maybe picked up in the 1990s. The shows are going to start being re-released. I would keep an eye on streaming services. I just keep an eye out for it real soon. And that made me pretty darn happy. So yeah, that was a bit of good news. Now, if you've been following along with the show, you'll know that Wednesday night I was on Jay Ashiro Finney's live stream. He is a pretty notable cyberpunk science fiction, by his own words, alien in a human suit. Decent kind of guy, and I got on there and I talked about a lot of stuff that I've talked to you guys about before. But if you want to check it out, I will be on next Wednesday. I will share the link with you guys before that happens. But Mr. Finney is a fun guy, and there's a great audience over there, so do check that out. But I've been running my mouth too much and ignoring my guest over here. I would reach over and shake your hand, Jeremy, but I think the 3,000-mile distance might make it a little hard. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Jeremy Rule. Jeremy, say hi.
Hey, thanks, Bill. It's good to be here. I've enjoyed watching your video podcasts. I haven't caught them all, but the ones I have, it's just fun to see kind of an analog, old school geek culture come to life on stream. So thank you for that.
Analog old school geek culture is absolutely the adjectives I would definitely attach to what I do. With the emphasis on analog, he said as he looked into a 4K camera over a 200 megabit connection. But so Jeremy, you and I have known each other, good God, almost 20 years in the virtual sense. We met over on the PoE forums. I met so many cool people over there that I didn't know until the forums collapsed just how cool they were. And fortunately, you and I stayed in touch. But I dragged you kicking and screaming into my D&D game. What has it been? 4 years ago now?
Yeah, 4 years. I remember my D&D history was growing up in the neighborhood. There was a kid just a few streets down, or a few houses down the street, who was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I was quite intrigued with this. I'd never heard of it, but I did not get an invite to his game. I think he probably thought I was too much into football and music and wouldn't be a good addition. So I gave up on that dream. And then once I reached my 40s, uh, Bill invited me, and that was my first D&D game was playing with Bill. So it was a long, circuitous route, but fun to try it again.
Well, I'm glad I was able to bring you into the fold. Yeah, and you and I have some commonality there. You know, I am as much of a nerd for college football as I am for D&D, or just about. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy during the fall and now during the spring because some of the smaller leagues are playing are playing ball due to the due to the COVID restrictions and everything. When people are like, "Oh, hey, you want to come play D&D on Saturday?" I'm sorry if it's between September and January. No, Alabama's playing Saturday, man. I can't come out there. But anyway, I am glad that I was able to rope you into this, and I hope you've had as much fun playing as it has been. Just having you in the group. Jeremy plays the bard, so he brings that musical talent to the table, and there's always he's got a musical reference to drop in the games, and that's so much fun. The bard is actually a bard.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And not knowing how to play, I did pick up the manuals, which was helpful. But then in chat, I used to award Bill points for vocabulary words, a little meta game, if you will, and that's been a lot of fun. Bill's vocabulary and references can kind of stretch to a vast place. So every once in a while, I'd have to go Google something to see if it was the word I was thinking he was saying. But that's been a fun little meta game we've had going.
Well, yeah, I mean the thing is like if you grew up, I spoke two languages when I was an adolescent. I spoke English and Gygaxian. So yeah, it's like Gary was a most loquacious master of the $5 word, and he would lay some terminology on the readers in there. So my vocabulary was expanded quite a bit by reading AD&D books when I was a kid, and it stuck with me. And here I've got Jeremy just lauding me with all these points, and what can I say? It's quite the highlight. But that's not the only strand of nerd DNA you've got, is it though?
That's right. I think I piqued your interest with a short vignette on a Discord chat here a few days ago, and
You
that's
did. You did lay that on us. I don't even want to broach the tail. It's all you. This is very cool.
all right. So yeah, and apologies if it's a little bit long-winded. I always think of myself as a minor geek, and I think as I've learned more about my father, who died when I was younger, as he was kind of a major geek. So I was in my early 20s when he passed away. It was 2001, and as time has gone on, when you lose a parent when you're younger, you tend to have thoughts of what would they have thought of me now, or what have, I wish I could share this experience with them. But what's been kind of fun is to look back at some of the things he did earlier in his life and just understand kind of who he was and what he was about. And I've come to learn that his geek credentials were pretty high. Um, my older brother Andrew forwarded me a link earlier this week to his PhD dissertation. So my late father's PhD dissertation. It was published in 1973 at Ohio State University, and maybe we can get a link in the description. But it's a good 60 or 80 pages of math and documents and prototypes of the first self-driving car. So this was 1973, so there was no Google or Tesla. There was no machine learning. There's no cloud computing. There was none of the stuff that we would enjoy today. And so I'll share a little picture here of him in this car that he and his team built. So that shows up. So here he is in the passenger seat, and the driver's seat is a dummy. You know, the dummy is driving. Um, but just reading through some of the dissertation, it was really interesting to see what you did before machine learning. So if you're not a computer sciencey person, machine learning, the way that works, and at just a really high rough level, is you would tell the computer, this is the rules of chess. Go teach yourself how to play chess. Play 2 million games against yourself, and then you're a pretty good chess player. So it basically just gives the rules and lets the computer crunch on things at a supercomputer level to figure out. So they didn't have that back then. The way a Tesla would work today is the same way. It would say, here's the rules of driving. Here's the conditions that you have to watch out for. Now go teach yourself to drive. Do it in a simulated way for millions of times until you perfect it. Obviously not possible back then when you had punch card readers and reel-to-reel tapes. So his dissertation was largely relying on physical things like electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. It relied on math that was very discrete. So it looked at what do you do when you come up to an intersection and there's three other cars? What is the rule for that? And so here's the formula to calculate the rule for that, which is very different than machine learning, which would say, let's just run cars into intersections for a million times until they figure out how to treat it properly. So just to me, the fascination was just the generational difference in technology. His math was really strong, more so than mine. So when you get to some of his complex equations, I couldn't quite keep up, but it was interesting to see. So my dad was an interesting guy. When we were growing up, I think all of my friends that had computers, they had Trash 80s, they had Ataris. The really cool ones had Amigas. Those were probably the coolest things I've ever seen. My dad was never one for the straight and narrow path, so he went to the Boeing surplus store and bought basically it was like a PDP-11. It was a mini. It wasn't quite a mainframe, but it ran a VAX DMC operating system where you had to learn, how to punch in stuff at a very low level. It had a 300 baud coupling modem. It had dual 10.5-inch drives. Yes, 10.5, not 8, but 10. And that was our first computing experience. Was just trying to learn DCL and on a VAX machine. Then he was also very much into ham radios, so he would give us a little practice time, me and my older brother, on learning Morse code, so that we could eventually use Morse code. Which, when I finally did get my ham radio license, there was no Morse code to behold. But anyway, just going back to this picture, once he had really started down this road on this self-driving car, he was recruited out of college to work for General Motors. My parents were in Michigan. I was born there. I was just an infant at the time, and then he quickly got recruited to go work for Boeing. So he moved the whole family to Seattle. It was me, my older brother, my mom and dad, and then spent much of his career there on two big projects. One of them was the AWACS plane. So that's the plane that flies around. It's a jumbo jet that has a big giant antenna on it. I don't even know if it's still used to this day. There's probably satellites. Yes. Okay, I didn't know if it was still a serviceable plane or satellites had come in. No. Wow. Okay. Well, that's great to hear it's still used. And then another project of his was, I think it was a Canadian subsidiary of Boeing, but getting the shuttle arm. So if you remember the early 1980s space shuttle, there was an arm that would reach into the bay of the belly of the beast and pull out a satellite and plunk it out there, or grab something from space and put it in there. So he did a lot of the engineering and physics of that. And then he would always talk about the physics and the work into getting a hatch open on the space shuttle. Apparently, they use little explosives to open things in space. So lots of just really geeky stuff. And I think a lot of my brothers, and I have five brothers, we picked up some of that geek culture because growing up, I think a lot of kids had the Sears catalog. I think we had one of those as well, but the big thing to hit the doorstep was the Heathkit catalog. That was, so, Bill, did you ever get the Heathkit catalog and the Radio Shack? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My dad's my dad's big ticket item. He looked at that Hero One robot. Anybody who's browsed the Heathkit catalog for a length of time knows Hero One robot. So that he never got that. We were always hoping he would, but I think mom had the checkbook at that time and wasn't thrilled with buying a Hero One. He did get a synthesizer kit to make a music synthesizer. So it was a full length 88 key keyboard, and then it had a bunch of punch boards up above it. And this was, early to mid 80s. So it was, you couldn't just go buy a Yamaha keyboard back then with a bank of sounds or anything. Music cards were just coming to fruition. But he built out this keyboard and he had it about 90% before I think he gave up on it and went back to ham radios. But that was always an exciting thing in our house was this synthesizer he was building. Yeah, yeah, and he was decidedly not a musician. So he was an engineer and did not play piano or keys or anything like that. Uh, my mom's side of the family were the musicians, but we were all growing up learning music. Um, we actually didn't have a TV growing up. We didn't go to movies. It was so we spent a lot of time, learning things like being a punch card operator, which probably I don't know how many 9-year-olds needed to learn that, or learning an instrument. But he knew we were musicians or trying to become ones, so um, he did get it to produce sounds, and you could plug the little things in the punch board to change the oscillation and stuff like that. But he never fully got it going. I'm not even sure what happened to the thing, but it was quite a when you were really young and you look in Dad's workshop and see this this mad professor creating something. It was always exciting. Yeah, it's interest. That's a really interesting topic too, Bill, because when my dad did pass, and we were all young. Most of my brothers younger, and we had to go kind of clear out this workshop and this garage and this house that was filled with, just junk after 30 years. Most everything just got tossed. We didn't want to saddle my mom with, you know, here's a big box of wires. When it would, that wasn't the right thing to do. Some of the things that got thrown out, I now realize, oops, that wasn't right. Some of the things we kept, I'm very happy with. So uh, one of the things that we kept, and I kept them, was his camera lenses from the 50s and 60s. So they were Nikon. Yes, they still they fit on a brand new. You go to the store and buy a Nikon D. I don't know what they're up to, 8,000 camera. It still fits perfectly. It's a manual lens, so you set, it's not going to autofocus or stabilize for you. But those lenses from the 50s and 60s just work great. Um, mhm, yeah. Then what was thrown out, like your dad's comics maybe, was oh, this one hurts to even talk about. Okay, right here I've got a Perception 420 microphone. It's a mid-range, large diaphragm microphone that does serviceable duty for both audio speaking or recording some music. My dad made a few trips to Japan in the early 70s, um, and bought microphones. And when I see those mics on eBay, they sell for disgusting amounts of money. These retro microphones from Japan, which we thought were garbage back in 2001. So
Oh
uh,
man.
that one is the one I think about. Oh, we messed that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad got back into superhero comics when I was an adolescent, into superhero comics, and I repeated almost the same damn mistake he did. I did not throw my comics away, but I did sell them. Like,
Hmm.
I had a long box full of X-Men and Star Wars and a few other superhero titles. Like one long box and then a few in another long box that I had started, and I was just like, nah, I want a new joystick for my Commodore and a couple of video games.
Yeah.
Um, which I subsequently got rid of, and just like comic books are now highly sought after, items, that seems to be the way. But the one thing, and I'm very proud of this, I was talking about getting geek DNA from both my families. Actually, the technical stuff I think came from my mom, because when I like, this is just a found out extremely late in life thing. My mom worked on one of the first mainframe systems in operation in Atlanta, Georgia. She worked for an insurance company running blank punch cards into a machine, and basically using a punch set to enter data off of broadsheets into
Mm.
punch cards, and then running a stack of punch cards through the. I'm guessing it was probably an IBM. It might have been a DEC by 1968 or so. But yeah, so mom was a bit of a computer programmer, and I didn't know that until like
Wow.
2011, 2012. But I found this story out, and this just like, this is so bittersweet, and it makes me smile, and consequently I will never get rid of these things. When Star Wars came out in 77, and of course the toys were huge, as a line of toys, like not just like Buck Rogers, like here's a rocket ship, and it has Buck Rogers on the side, but a line of toys that's going to constantly be refreshed and updated. Star Wars toys were fairly new, And I didn't realize it until after my dad had passed that one, he pretty much broke a paycheck to get me an X-wing fighter and the entire range of Star Wars figures for the
Wow.
Christmas following when Star Wars came out. And
Mhm.
two, he told my mom point blank, I'm buying this for him. I wanted this kind of thing when I was a kid, and my old man thought it was sissy toys
Yeah.
and didn't want me to have it. So yeah, here here was Christmas morning 1978, and I'm drowning in Star Wars figures and so on, and to know that, like, he was like, nope, nope, you're having all of this. That's just one of those stories, man. And I'm never
Yeah.
ever ever gonna get rid of my Star Wars figures or my X-wing fighter or my Millennium Falcon or any of that stuff, because
Yeah.
you know it wasn't just that, like, hey, I'm gonna buy my kid the toy that all the other kids have. This was actually like part of Dad's mindset behind it. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling on, stepping on you.
No, this is perfect.
But yeah, so just dad's and mom's fingerprints all over everything. One thing I can tell you though, dude, straight up, my old man couldn't carry a note in a bucket. I used to sit next to him in church, and he'd start blasting out how great thou art. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of leaning this way in the pew, thinking, man, how loud thou art. Just as
Yeah,
off-key as can be.
my musical side was my mom's side of the family, and of the six of us, so I have five brothers. Two of us have, my brother Peter and myself, have kept up with music at least to some degree, while the other four, which is probably about the right odds, found other hobbies and enjoyment in life. But yeah, my dad was, he appreciated music, but he knew it wasn't his thing.
Mm, yeah, my sister was a musician in our family. She can play a little bit of guitar. Married a swell guy who's a bass player in a local band for many many years. He had this, oh, I don't know what manufacturer it was, but Ray had this bass that it was pretty just to look at, man. It was this heavily lacquered deep brown wood. Oh, it's fantastic to look at that thing. But um, so you had actually told me a little bit about the self driving car
Mhm.
um, in the past, and I'm having a brain fog moment. And did you say that your dad put like heavy duty magnets up and down the street so the
Yeah.
car could?
Well, yeah, there's not. So the car, as far as the way I read it, and I haven't fully digested it. It sounded like it couldn't exist without some modifications to the road. So
Yeah.
there had to be either something electrical or magnets or something that would tell it, you're not off the road. Again, this is before, I work, at Amazon, and AWS, Amazon Web Services, has this really cool technology called recognition. So anybody with a little bit of technical ability can uh, you know invoke this service to go recognize things, like a bush on the side of a road or a stop sign up ahead. So prior to that, which in machine learning is just now coming to fruition,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you had to use other mechanisms. So the math was very discrete. It was saying these are the rules that we will follow. Uh, but because there was no machine imaging and learning, I think the streets would have to have some strip of copper or magnet or something in there. But
Okay. Cool. I just
yeah, a
for
little
some.
bit before its time, and I do wonder, certainly wonder the modern self-driving pioneers that have gone out and really advanced that field. Did they go look at any of the other work that it had done before. Probably not. I'm guessing because it was just a totally different approach and different math, but maybe I don't know.
I,
Um,
I, I don't know either. I mean, that's a
yeah.
thing that, like, I was farting around today with getting a little mini speaker set up so I could hear without having to wear my plastic headphones. So I got this uh, set up today, and as I was fiddling around with the Bluetooth connector, something flashed back, and that was that the um, Bluetooth was invented in the 1940s. An actress, basically a pinup girl named Hedy Lamarr, is the one who wrote papers in the 1940s on connecting electronic devices to automatically signal each other
Mhm.
with positional and data relay. I mean, she wrote this paper in the 1940s, and a personal hero of mine, Douglas Engelbart, who
Mhm.
is the reason why we use computers the way we use computers today. I mean, people think like Apple, or maybe even Apple and Microsoft, invented the Windows GUI in the early 1980s. It was invented by Douglas Engelbart in the 1960s when he was in his late 30s and early 40s. But he read a book when he was a signalman for the Navy, working at a lookout station in the Pacific in the 1940s. He read a book by a guy named Vannevar Bush, who had been born in like the 1840s.
Yeah.
The book was called As We May Think, and it was about the coming office automation revolution. And he said, well, wait a minute. What if we used, because I have this radar screen in front of me, it's a cathode ray tube. What if we displayed data on this for an office worker instead of
Right.
a military guy, and made it so he could interact with that data? Then we wouldn't need the punch cards and the microfiche. So
Yeah.
personally, I would not be surprised if George Hotz, the guy who invented basically a black box that you can plug in to any car to get it to auto drive, I wouldn't be shocked if they'd crawled all over your dad's paper, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's fun. Like some of those things stand the test of time. Turing, and I think about a lot of the great mathematicians that computer science was built on, or even the computer scientists that created the algorithms before there was a computer. Um, but yeah, it's such a what I enjoy most about the dissertation is how different the approach is today. It's just so vastly you would never approach it the way he did. But that what he had to work with was mechanical engineering, um, electrical engineering, and some computing power. And it was interesting to see the I don't know the resourcefulness or the grit, I guess, to try to make something work. Then,
Well, one of these days we're going to have like a great cross rip where you and I can talk about computer tech and Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I would keep you here for hours, and I know you got to go very soon. Um, you're in the middle of a work day, but I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know if you caught the episode. I actually purchased a Dungeons and Dragons Electronic Labyrinth board game, and this came out
yeah,
in like
so
1980.
yeah,
And I was thinking, well, it's just a dumb electronic toy. It probably just uses a couple of TTL chips. And then I thought, well, no, wait a second. Even if it is analog, it is by all definitions a computer. It
yeah,
stores things in memory, it recalls things, it randomizes numbers, and it stores at least 4 or 5 things in memory. I mean, I think you can make a very, very good case that thing's an actual honest to God computer, but it might be all analog. Well, it might be solid state, not analog. There's not like paper tapes and punch cards in it. But
yeah.
yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And again, I want to have you back on the live stream and talk about loads of other stuff too.
Well, let's do it again soon. I do have to run off to earn my mortgage. But
Understood,
enjoyed the
sir.
conversation, Bill. It's always entertaining, and I will be back at some point in the future.
Good. I will see you though Monday night for the big AD&D throwdown. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, folks. Jeremy Rule. Jeremy, thanks for coming on the show, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Peace. Well, Jeremy, always lots of fun to chit chat with and talk to. Always appreciate his coming on the stream. And let me just put a little bit of information up here. But yeah, so that's how it goes, guys. I mean, your nerdy DNA can come from just about anywhere, anywhere in the world. And I think it's super cool that Jeremy's dad worked on the E2 Sentry for Boeing, because that's such a fascinating piece of hardware. And if you're not aware, we'll pretend we're talking about Twilight 2000 and some of the aircraft that are left flying, so we can safely file this under role playing games. But the Hawkeye, the E2C Hawk. Wait, no, I'm sorry. The Sentry, the E2C, is a little tinier model that flies off of aircraft carriers. The Sentry is this big Mama Jama 707 that has this giant radar dish on the back of it, but it looks like an M&M. It's basically it's a flattened sphere, and it keeps track of everything within hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of the battlefield. But it can sit hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles behind the battle lines while it does its thing. And its radar is so powerful and has such high resolution that it can differentiate between a MiG-29 and an F-15. And of course, those planes have transponders on them, and their own radars emit certain signatures and so on and etc. And they can tell, red 3 and 4. I've got two unknown bogeys at this position. They're moving this fast. They're descending this fast. They're this far apart in both latitude and longitude and altitude. Go check them out. They're not supposed to be there. And then, two fighter planes can hear those instructions and go flying off in that direction. And it's a kind of a plane that really nobody has been able to copy. The Russians have got something called a mainstay that, by all accounts, is nowhere near as good. The British tried with the Nimrod to build sort of a surveillance aircraft like that. They ended up buying the Sentry from us. It's just a kick-ass bird, and I think it's awesome that Jeremy's dad worked on that. And we certainly do thank him for his work there. So. And I apologize, by the way, for the little audio hiccups earlier. That's kind of the problem with using a speaker out, audio out like that, and having a guest talking, is sometimes you'll get an echoplex, and then if I turn my mic way down, you have problems hearing me. So it's like, should I just have gotten my headphones, but they're falling apart and they look nasty, so I don't know. So throw me some shekels, guys, so I can buy a nice set of wireless studio headphones. Come on, open up your pockets. I'm just kidding. But one thing I would like you to do very, very, very much, and I've been beating on this drum for a while now, please, 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 if you are not subscribed on YouTube, please go to my YouTube channel. Let me pull up the exact URL here. Please go to my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're already there. The calls are coming from inside the channel. Please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Help me get over 1,000 subscribers. There's a lot that I can do on YouTube when I cross the 1,000 subscriber barrier that I can't do when I'm sitting where I am. It's not just to blow up my ego, it's actually to make things a little easier for me to communicate with folks over YouTube. I can take polls when we have chats coming in. I can take live chats, and I can uh-oh, did we just lose camera? Did we just lose camera? All right, so Discord just cut me off. So yeah, let me get my camera situation sorted here, guys. Hopefully I can get. I'll just exit out of Discord. I just plumb forgot that I was using Discord for my video. And let me see if I switch the cam link on. You know what? I'm going to try something here. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. See, this is kind of the kind of thing that I could maybe solve with a little bit of pluck and luck, and that wouldn't suck. So bear with me just a moment, guys, while I get the video going again. Yeah, Discord basically threw up this snarky little pop-up and said, hey, you've been on this call by yourself for more than 5 minutes. Bandwidth doesn't grow on trees, so we're going to go ahead and end your call for you. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. No, I really do. Oh, wait, except I don't. That sucks. So, but don't worry, Microsoft is fixing to buy Discord, and then it's going to get all better. So let me see if I turn on the Logitech. There we go. There we go. How about that? You guys are a little bit closer than usual. Let me just center that and zoom that down and bring that up and bring this over. So there we are. And so anyway, as I was saying, now that I have video back, please, by all means, if you could, subscribe to me on YouTube. You don't now. If you're just like, but I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna be watching you on Facebook. Why would I do that? There's a lot of stuff I can do on YouTube that I can't do if I don't have 1,000 subscribers. I can do polls. I can do super chats, which is a thing where I can highlight chats that people make, and I can increase the visibility of those. I can have chats like save the chat stream. You can go and you can see the chat stream and so on. So those are just some things that I would like to do on YouTube. And I'm getting there. Folks were decent enough and kind enough during the week to raise up from like 540 to almost 600, in the course of just a couple of days. So yeah, if we could get it over 1,000, I am going to run a massive sort of dungeon board game hybrid OD&D game for everybody who logs into the stream. When I go over 1,000, I will do this special stream, and anybody can play. It's just going to be very board gamey. When I get over 1,000 subscribers, and I won't do it over Discord. I'm cutting your throat, Billy. Wait. So please do that, if you would. So on to something a little more serious. I'm waiting to hear back from Tracy Lesch's spouse about his health condition. I know he was supposed to go in surgery either yesterday or today, and then there were some other health concerns that popped up. So Tracy is a big friend of the show, and we wish him all the best. I really want him to be okay. And I know you guys too. And if you don't know who Tracy Lesch is, Tracy is a pioneer of classic Dungeons and Dragons artwork and creation. Tracy was there back in the day. If you know your history of early D&D, Tracy is the guy who, or rather, if you don't know your history of early D&D, sorry, Tracy is the guy who did all of the illustrations for the original folio version of the Tomb of Horrors. Tracy is responsible for the creation of the Mind Flayer. The visuals for the Mind Flayer are all his. Other illustrators have drawn them over the years. I'm not saying that he's the only one that ever drew a Mind Flayer, but that look, that almond-shaped head, the squid tentacles, the horrible bony hands, that's all Tracy's. Yes, Aaron, he was in high school. Tracy, the story is that history was a cakewalk course for him. So he would knock through his classwork in just a matter of, 15 minutes, where, everyone else might spend the entire hour. And when he was done, he would crack open his art notebook and go to town. I believe he said Heidi Gygax was sitting behind him in that class. And, I mean, how cool is that? Heidi Gygax. Ooh, she stole my heart. She looks over his shoulder and says, "Can I show my dad your art notebook?" And Tracy said, well, sure. So she takes Gary Gygax his art notebook. Gary calls him up and says, "Do you want to make some art for my company?" Tracy says, "Sure," and goes over, and Gary hands him a wood grain OD&D set and said, "Read through this," and kind of starts giving him pointers on the things he wants done. And Tracy ended up doing a lot of illustrations for original D&D. He did all the artwork for the digest box size Boot Hill. He and his father did that artwork, and he did so many other pieces. I've got a piece that he gifted me, and I'm going to see if I can get this off the wall without damaging it. Tracy gave me this. Now, this is not an original canvas. Please don't think that I have some original piece of art. It is a print. It is a canvas print. You can get these made, that I was gifted by the Lesches, and this is unreleased early AD&D or OD&D art right here. This is a beautiful piece, and this hangs on the wall of honor. So that is the level of artistic awesomeness that Tracy created for the D&D world. And as Tracy is not doing well right now physically, I hope that you will be so kind as to keep Tracy in your thoughts. You know, I thoughts and prayers. It does sound kind of trite, but I do hope, we all hope that that Tracy comes out of this okay, and and that everything's going to work out for him. I'm just going to respond to a quick message. We're going to wrap up soon. But as I was about to say, Monday I'm going to I'm going to I'm going to do another show, of course. Oh, there goes my light. That always tells me that I've been going on for about an hour, is when one of these two lights dies, just depending on which one I have the bad battery plugged into. But I'm sorry, I got a little scatterbrained, guys. Monday, we'll just kind of get caught up. I don't think we'll have a mail call on Monday. We might. There might be something that I can show you guys, maybe, possibly. But hopefully I'll have some news about Tracy that I can tell you guys, and it'll be good news. Tuesday, of course, we'll catch up with what the Monday Night Gang did. They are out of White Plume Mountain. They have flown the coop, as I've said. Thank you, Aaron. And then we'll just kind of go on as the week goes on. We'll just have to see how things progress. That's about all I've got today, guys. I keep going but I'm really I'm really out of clever things to say now. I think I'm gonna take the rest of the afternoon and relax and take stock, and as soon as I know something about Tracy, I'll post a message on Facebook and let you guys know what's going on. Sorry about the sudden camera silliness. I will fix that so that does not happen in the future, even when I'm live streaming and my guest has to step away before the live stream itself ends. We'll figure it out. So thank you all, guys, very much for watching. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Extra special thanks to Jeremy Rule for coming on the show today and sharing some geeky history about computers with us. That was a lot of fun. Y'all take care, and I will see you all around.